You awake in the dark, your body cold, your mind blank. You have nothing but your fear, a candle, and one question. How long will your light last? Hey y'all, my name is Brian and I'm with Command Gaming Creations, and today we are going to be reviewing the Night Cage. I got this from a Kickstarter just a couple months ago, played it, and it has been a blast to be able to play. A couple things, really love the artwork of it with the box. It is a 1 to 5 player game, and it's for 14 and up, but honestly my kids have played it with us. It's a cooperative game, so you can be able to play it with younger. My youngest that we played with was 9 years old. We had a 4-player game and we were able to play it just fine. So anyway, it's a fun game. Let's go into some of the components and what you get out of it. Now, some of these components may be different than what you get in retail. I did get this off Kickstarter. I think I upgraded one thing, but I didn't upgrade multiple things, so I think there's more that you could have done. But anyway, so I'm not sure exactly what's out in retail, but this is what I have, and I enjoy it so far. So you do get a board, and it is a double-sided board, which is pretty cool. So you can be able to play on one side that is for 1 to 4 players, and on the other side is up to 5 players. So you can have a little bit bigger space with 5 players. Mine that I have is you have these character pieces that are just candles for the 5 different players that you have. And it's kind of cool because each of the candles have different sizes for the for the character pieces. So they're just different size candles, which is pretty cool. Another cool component is this candle holder that holds the tiles that you'll be drawing during the game and placing those on the board. So the other components, you have the tiles, and these are what you're drawing out of that candle. A lot of them are just directional, and then you also have other tiles. These are the wax eaters, and those wax eaters will hurt you during the game. Then you also have the tiles to the key tiles. There's one. So here's a key tile. This is what you're trying to get. You're collecting each of these keys, and then you're trying to get to the end gate tile. That's pretty much the game and how it works. But there are also some additional bad guys that can affect the game in different ways. And so you have quite a few different options to be able to play. And the art is really cool. I really love that about the game, is the art is very interesting and unique. And then you also have this ginormous bad guy that can make a huge difference in the game. Another component is these keys. So as you do land on the key tile, you get one of the keys, and then you take that to the end of the game. You also have this board that tells you how many of each of the tiles can be in the game. And so depending on if you have 4 or 5 players, how many you need for your game. So you kind of divide those up, mix them up, and then throw them in your stack, and then you'd be drawing them during the game. One more thing is that each player has their little player mat, little card that tells them what they can do, and also if their light goes out, what are the options that they can do during that time. And I'll kind of explain how that works during the rules. Then at the very beginning of the game, every player gets a starter tile piece. This tile, each player gets to then place their person down, their tile wherever they want, and then you'll place also your player piece on it. Now your player piece has light, and you have a candle that shows the next 2 tiles away from you, and according to where the path is. So you would then draw another tile and be able to place it. You could do it however you wanted to. And you can pick which side you want to. You can be able to do that in the order that you want to as a player. If I did have like a T place, I could then, decide whether I wanted to have it, going which way or the other. Maybe I would want to go that way. So each player does that. We'll kind of set this up. Okay, so this is just a basic setup after you have every player place their first couple tiles that they would lay. Now, one cool thing about this board is that it continues on. So this blue player here, they have their tile showing, their light is showing through this path, but it's also showing through that way. And so that would be lighting up this path right here. So when this blue player would lay a tile, because their path, their light, is being able to show on the other side, on this side of the board, it actually brings the light all the way to this way. So if a player wanted to be able to move, they could be able to move from that tile all the way over here. Now, how players move is during their turn, they can be able to move from their tile onto another space. Now, their light moves with them. So during that turn, this light would actually go away. He's still shining light on this tile, but because no more light is shining on this tile then goes away, and he's now shining light into this space. And so you would draw a new tile and be able to place that down onto a new location. So one thing with these tiles is that some of them have cracked spaces on them. So whenever a player goes onto one of these tiles, the next turn it will actually flip over. So because he just left that first tile, everybody's first tile is going to flip over after that first turn. But they go off of it and it creates this pit. If on a future turn, let's say this guy here, he actually wants to stay on that pit or stay on this tile, it will flip over and he will actually go through the pit, and I'll explain what that happens in just a minute. So each player will then move around the board trying to find these tiles. If you find one of these tiles, whoever goes onto that tile then gets a key, and that player keeps that key with them to the end of the game. And the end of the game happens when everybody has a key and can all get to one of these tiles, which is the gate tile. So if all players get a key and then make their way to this gate, that is how you win the game. During the time as you're moving around, though, you may come into play with one of these tiles, which is a wax eater. Let's explain how these wax eaters work. So let's say that purple wants to move this way, and he draws one of the tiles. So the light has gone from that tile, they can't see it. This one flips over because it had that breaking in it. And so he moves from here, so he draws two new tiles. Let's say that one of them is a straight line, and let's say that the other one is a wax eater. So how these wax eaters work is that they are triggered by motion. So what happens is anytime there is movement that is within the line of sight of the wax eater, then the wax eater's issues or whatever he does will be triggered. And so let's say that purple moves out of the line of sight of the wax eater. Yellow is still in the line of sight of the wax eater. So what will happen with yellow is his lights will go out, and you have a card that you flip it over, and that talks about what you can do when your lights are out. But when your light goes out, you actually can only have the light within your space. And so because purple can't see this space, yellow actually loses that tile. And granted, because purple moved, this would have been taken away as well. But that trigger happened, he gets lights out, and when purple moved, this one is also now taken away because nobody else sees it, but the effect did happen for yellow. So yellow now has lights out, and they can't see where they're going. And so they could move on their turn to this empty space if they wanted to, but it would be completely, you wouldn't know what that piece was. And so it could be another wax eater. You could land it directly on that, and that wouldn't be so good. But yellow could then move here, and obviously they cannot see this space anymore because their light is still out. But eventually what could happen is another player could be able to interact when they're next to each other. That will bring his light back. Then yellow would then be able to see these other squares, and you would have more space to be able to go to. And maybe that would trigger a key, and you might be able to get that, And one of the penalties that also happens with getting hit by a wax eater is that you actually take 3 of the tiles that are in your candle, and those are just discarded. And really, let me explain this, is when you're trying to get those keys and trying to get to that gate before your candle runs out. And this is technically how much light you have left in your candle. So as you're taking these and placing them and using those, if you get to the end of this box and you use that last tile and you guys can't get to the gate within, I think, 1 turn or something like that, then you lose the game. And so those wax eaters, when they're taking away 3 of those tiles, it makes a huge difference to how fast the game goes. So you definitely don't want to be hitting those wax eaters. Some of these other bad guys and these other tiles I haven't played with yet, so we'll have to jump into those, and I'll have to do an addition to how those really interact with the game and how they make the game different. But as of right now, I'm just kind of talking about the basic game right now. You also have these nerve tokens that you can be able to use during the game. They have different effects that you can be able to help you throughout it. You can be able to move again if you wanted to, or it also, if you wanted to use it when you get hit by a wax eater, you only take away 2 tiles instead of the 3. There's a couple other things you can be able to do, but you collect these through the game. If you ever stay on your tile, you can get one, and then you can be able to use them to be able to help you and your team further advance in the game if you need it. So I created that portion of the review a couple weeks ago. I wanted to be able to play it a little bit more, get into it a few more times. That way I could give a better review of the actual game. So a couple different things. I love this game. I really enjoy the aspect. I love the co-op. I love being able to figure out, what is going to be the best route to be able to accomplish that and accomplish it with a group. Or we all lose, and we all lose as a group. My wife, on the other hand, is not such a fan of it. She loves to be able to, she loves games, loves playing, but also likes to just kind of focus on just what she's doing and not necessarily having to, decide as a whole group of what we're going to be doing, because she just wants to get her thing done. And so that's a part of it, that with this game, I think a couple like negative things that could be an aspect of it is that there are some certain steps that need to happen in order to make sure that you're doing everything right. And so knowing all the rules, knowing that any time that you move, that you have to take away a couple things. And so sometimes you forget that, oh, I was supposed to take away that before I did this. And so that can be frustrating sometimes if you forget a certain step and then you're moving on and all of a sudden you realize like, oh, that would have changed the game if I would have done, if we would have actually followed this part of it, the step right, before we moved on to the next thing. And so that can be a little frustrating with it, but I love the idea of being able to work together, and I'm definitely one that likes to dive into what's the best solution. And so we could do this, or we could do this, or if we do this, this is going to happen, and this what, so I love to be able to dive into all the different things and make sure that we as a whole group are accomplishing the best scenario. Whereas my wife's like, let's just play and let's just move on and let's just keep going with the game. So depending on your style of play and who you're playing with, that might make an effect of whether you love the game or not. I love the style of it, the art aspect, and it plays really well. Both my wife and I both agree that it's set up. It's definitely play tested a lot. The aspects or how it works is very well done. And so being able to jump into it and once you learn how to play it, then it's super good to be able to jump into and play and have some fun with it. So anyway, hopefully this review was good. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you do like it, feel free to be able to look up. I'll have a link in the description of a place to be able to get this game, and whether they're a website or Amazon or something, I'll throw that in there. If you guys like these videos, please, comment, subscribe, and like the video. Give a good old thumbs up, and also feel free to tell me what you like about it and what you don't like. If there's certain aspects that you like about my videos, let me know. If there's other aspects I can change to make it better, let me know. I'm free for feedback. So anyway, have a great day and enjoy your gaming.